AWS Certified Solutions Architect. Professional SAP-C02 exam updated dumps questions are valuable in your preparation. Share some updated AWS Certified SAP-C02 exam dumps here. 1. A company's AWS architecture currently uses access keys and secret access keys stored on each instance to access AWS services. Database credentials are hard-coded on each instance. SSH keys for command-line remote access are stored in a secured Amazon S3 bucket. The company has asked its solutions architect to improve the security posture of the architecture without adding operational complexity. Which combination of steps should the solutions architect take to accomplish this? Select 3. A. Use Amazon EC2 instance profiles with an IAM role. B. Use AWS Secrets Manager to store access keys and secret access keys. C. Use AWS Systems Manager Parameter Store to store database credentials. D. Use a secure fleet of Amazon EC2 Bastion hosts, or remote access. E. Use AWS KMS to store database credentials. F. Use AWS Systems Manager Session Manager TOR remote access. 2. A company is planning to set up a REST API application on AWS. The application team wants to set up a new identity store on AWS. The IT team does not want to maintain any infrastructure or servers for this deployment. What is the most operationally efficient solution that meets these requirements? A. Deploy the application as AWS Lambda functions. Set up Amazon API Gateway REST API endpoints for the application. Create a Lambda function, and configure a Lambda authorizer. B. Deploy the application in AWS App Sync, and configure AWS Lambda resolvers. Set up an Amazon Cognito user pool, and configure AWS AppSync to use the user pool for authorization. C. Deploy the application as AWS Lambda functions. Set up Amazon API Gateway REST API endpoints for the application. Set up an Amazon Cognito user pool, and configure an Amazon Cognito authorizer. D. Deploy the application in Amazon Elastic Kubemeets Service, Amazon EKS clusters. Set up an application load balancer for the EKS pods. Set up an Amazon Cognito user pool and service pod, for authentication. 3. A solutions architect is designing a network for a new cloud deployment. Each account will need autonomy to modify route tables and make changes. Centralized and controlled egress internet connectivity is also needed. The cloud footprint is expected to grow to thousands of AWS accounts. Which architecture will meet these requirements? A. A centralized transit VPC with a VPN connection to a standalone VPC in each account. Outbound internet traffic will be controlled by firewall appliances. B. A centralized shared VPC with a subnet for each account. Outbound internet traffic will controlled through a fleet of proxy servers. C. A shared services VPC to host central assets to include a fleet of firewalls with a route to the Internet. Each spoke VPC will peer to the central VPC. D. A shared transit gateway to which each VPC will be attached. Outbound Internet access will route through a fleet of VPN-attached firewalls. 4. A company is running a web application with on-demand Amazon EC2 instances in auto-scaling groups that scale dynamically based on custom metrics after extensive testing. The company determines that the M5.2 extra-large instance size is optimal for the workload application data as stored in DB. R4.4 extra-large Amazon RDS instances that are confirmed to be optimal. The traffic to the web application spikes randomly during the day. What other cost optimization methods should the company implement to further reduce costs without impacting the reliability of the application? A. Double the instance count in the auto-scaling groups and reduce the instance size to M5. Large. B. Reserve capacity for the RDS database and the minimum number of EC2 instances that are constantly running. C. Reduce the RDS instance size to DB. R4. Extra large and add 5 equivalent caret-sized read replicas to provide reliability. D. Reserve capacity for all EC2 instances and leverage spot instance pricing for the RDS database. 5. A company needs to run a software package that has a license that must be run on the same physical host for the duration of its use. The software package is only going to be used for 90 days. The company requires patching and restarting of all instances every 30 days. How can these requirements be met using AWS? A. Run a dedicated instance with auto-placement disabled. B. Run the instance on a dedicated host with host affinity set to host. C. Run an on-demand instance with a reserved instance to ensure consistent placement. D. Run the instance on a licensed host with termination set for 90 days. 6. A company is storing data on premises on a Windows file server. The company produces 5 GB of new data daily. The company migrated part of its Windows-based workload to AWS and needs the data to be available on a file system in the cloud. The company already has established an AWS Direct Connect connection between the on-premises network and AWS. Which data migration strategy should the company use? A. Use the File Gateway option in AWS Storage Gateway to replace the existing Windows file server, and point the existing file share to the new File Gateway. B. Use AWS DataSync to schedule a daily task to replicate data between the on-premises Windows file server and Amazon FSx. C. Use AWS Data Pipeline to schedule a daily task to replicate data between the on-premises Windows file server and Amazon Elastic File System, Amazon EFS. D. Use AWS DataSync to schedule a daily task replicate data between the on-premises Windows file server and Amazon Elastic File System, Amazon EFS. 7. A company hosts a photography website on AWS that has global visitors. The website has experienced steady increases in traffic during the last 12 months, and users have reported a delay in displaying images. The company wants to configure Amazon CloudFront Low deliver photos to visitors with minimal latency. Which actions will achieve this goal? Select 2. A. Set the minimum TTL and maximum TTL to 0 in the CloudFront distribution. B. Set the minimum TTL and maximum TTL to a high value in the CloudFront distribution. C. Set the CloudFront distribution to forward all headers, all cookies, and all query strings to the origin. D. Set up additional origin servers that are geographically closer to the requesters. Configure latency-based routing in Amazon Route 53. E. Select price class 100 on IHE CloudFront distribution. 8. A developer reports receiving an error 403 access denied message when they try to download an object from an Amazon S3 bucket. The S3 bucket is accessed using an S3 endpoint inside a VPC and is encrypted with an AWS KMS key. A solutions architect has verified that key developer is assuming the correct IAM role in the account that allows the object to be downloaded. The S3 bucket policy and the NACL are also valid. Which additional step should the solutions architect take to troubleshoot this issue? A. Ensure that blocking all public access has not been enabled in the S3 bucket. B. Verify that the IAM route has permission to decrypt the referenced KMS key. C. Verify that the IAM role has the correct trust relationship configured. D. Check that local firewall rules are not preventing access to the S3 endpoint. 9. A solutions architect works for a government agency that has strict disaster recovery requirements. All Amazon Elastic Block Store, Amazon EBS, snapshots are required to be saved in at least 2 additional AWS regions. The agency also is required to maintain the lowest possible operational overhead. Which solution meets these requirements? A. Configure a policy in Amazon Data Lifecycle Manager, Amazon DLMJ, to run once daily to copy the EBS snapshots to the additional regions. B. Use Amazon Event Bridge, Amazon CloudWatch Events, to schedule an AWS Lambda function to copy the EBS snapshots to the additional regions. C. Set up AWS Backup to create the EBS snapshots. Configure Amazon S3 cross-region replication to copy the EBS snapshots to the additional regions. D. Schedule Amazon EC2 Image Builder to run once daily to create an AMI and copy the AMI to the additional regions. 10. A company uses AWS Transit Gateway for a hub-and-spoke model to manage network traffic between many VPCs. The company is developing a new service that must be able to send data at 100 gigabits per second. The company needs a faster connection to other VPCs in the same AWS region. Which solution will meet these requirements? A. Establish VPC peering between the necessary VPCs. Ensure that all route tables are updated as required. B. Attach an additional transit gateway to the VPCs. Update the route tables accordingly. C. Create AWS site-to-site VPN connections that use equal-cost multipath (ECMP) routing between the necessary VPCs. D. Create an additional attachment from the necessary VPCs to the existing transit gateway.